Hello everyone, I'm Miss Karen at Adams Memorial Library. Welcome to our November Bake-A-Tale program. Bake-A-Tale is a program where we talk about a recipe, something to bake, and some books that you could read while you're waiting for your baked goods to come out of the oven, and some crafts that you can do. And you can enjoy your crafts and your baked goods together. The kits we have for this month will be ready in the children's room. You can come down and pick them up, or if you can't come into the library, if you don't have time to come in, you can always call us and reserve kits, and we would be happy to have them ready for you to pick up through curbside service. So, November is the month kind of in between October when we have Halloween and December when we have Christmas. So I feel like maybe we don't quite have enough fall decorations for November. So that's why this month we'll be making fall wreath decorations that you can hang up for Thanksgiving if you would like, and 3D paper pumpkins that you could also use to decorate your Thanksgiving table. And if you like pumpkin for Thanksgiving, the recipe this month is for pumpkin scones. So if you have some extra pumpkin, left over after you were making pumpkin pies, you could make pumpkin scones. You could have them for breakfast on Thanksgiving if you wanted to. Any time, though, I would have pumpkin scones or pumpkin pretty much anything all year round because I like pumpkin. I hope you do too. And if you do, you might like these pumpkin scones. But the books I have for you this time are kind of about Thanksgiving and still sort of fall and harvest season. This book is called Pick a Circle, Gather Squares, A Fall Harvest of Shapes, and it was written by Felicia Sanzari-Chernesky, and the illustrations are by Susan Swan. This book is called How Many Seeds in a Pumpkin, and it's written by Margaret McNamara and illustrated by G. Brian Karras. And this one is an Annie and Snowball story, Annie and Snowball and the Thankful Friends. This was written by Cynthia Rylant, and the illustrations are by Susie Stevenson. Let me tell you a little bit more about these ones. This book, I really, really, really like the illustrations. I like collage illustrations, and I think the illustrations in this book are really beautiful and really saturated with beautiful fall colors, golds and oranges and browns. And in this book, you can look for the shapes in them. It could be round, like a pumpkin. Could be square, like a hay bale that you could sit on. Find some other shapes. Maybe you'd find them at the pumpkin patch, or maybe find them on the table. This one, the class is studying pumpkins in class, and just like you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, maybe you shouldn't judge how many pumpkin seeds will be in a pumpkin by the pumpkin size. So that's what they find out with this story. A pumpkin can have a lot of seeds, and this class is going to count every one of them and see what they can learn. And thanks to them, I got to learn something new too and enjoy lots of pumpkin illustrations. Now this last book is about Annie, and she really loves Thanksgiving, but she feels like they have a really big table, she and her dad, but they don't have that many relatives that they could invite. They have, of course, they have her cousin, Henry, and his big dog, Mudge, and his parents who live next door, but they have more chairs than that. So she'd like to invite some more people too. So then she gets the idea. She and Henry think about it, and they think maybe they could invite people whose families live far away and who might not have any place else to go on Thanksgiving. And I think that's a wonderful idea. I think it's always nice, especially Thanksgiving time, to share with everybody, your family and your found family too. So that's what Annie does in this story. And maybe they would like to serve pumpkin scones. So these scones aren't hard to make, but as always, baking's more fun when you do it together. So it needs an adult's help because you do need to use the oven and you need to cut the scones. But the recipe was from a King Arthur flour recipe for pumpkin harvest scones. And it's not hard. You just mix them up. You've got some pumpkin in them. You form it into 2 balls of pumpkin dough. And you can put them both on the same baking sheet. And then you kind of try to make it as round as possible. It says if you do them plain, like I did, your dough rounds will be a little bit smaller. It has some things you can add into it if you wanted to add cinnamon chips or pieces of candied ginger or something. Then your circle might be a little larger of your circle dough. The next thing you're going to do, once you have it, is cut the scones into pieces before you bake them. And if you have one of these, like a baker's knife like this, it's really easy. You can just put it in and do it that way. If you don't have one of those, you might need to use a knife. So you'll just cut it so you'll have 6 wedges. And then before you put it in the oven, you're going to put it in the freezer. Before you put it in the freezer, after you've cut them, you just sort of nudge the scones a little bit apart. So that way, when they bake, it'll be together in a loaf, but there'll be a little space in between them. And you'll see on the recipe, it'll make sense. But the recipe suggests that you put your dough into the freezer and then it'll keep the shape. And I did that and mine looked pretty much like I thought they would, wedges of scones. So when you make these, like I said, it's easy to mix them up. You do want to allow a little bit of time, like 30 minutes or so, to put them in the freezer. And then you bake them in the oven and they will smell really good. Smell like pumpkin spice. And if you like pumpkin, I think they taste really good too. They're like little pumpkin cakes that you can have with some milk, with some tea, have them for breakfast, have them for a snack. Enjoy them anytime. If you've watched Bake a Tale before, you might know that a lot of the crafts that we've done have come from a site called Red Ted Art. And the crafts this month are actually from a book done by Maggie Woodley of Red Ted Art. So both the paper pumpkin and the leaf wreath instructions come from this book, Easy Paper Projects. In your kit, there's going to be some orange paper and light green paper to make these 3D pumpkins and a glue stick. What I did when making my pumpkins is I folded the paper, and that way I could cut out more pumpkins at once. Because when you make these, you're going to need 8 or 10 pieces, 8 or 10 orange circles, and I used 10 for this one. You can find whatever you would like to use. You just need to trace something round. I used the bottom of a mug, and that made a pumpkin this big. If you find a bigger circle to trace, then your pumpkin will be bigger. I traced around the mug onto my folded paper, and then I only had to cut this out once. Once you have your circles, you might need to even them out a little bit like I did, or maybe your circles will all turn out right the first time, and that would be even better. But you'll take each circle and fold it in half. Take the next circle, fold it in half. Once you've folded them all in half, you're going to glue 2 of them together on kind of the outsides. So you see how I have my finger in the middle? That would be the inside. I'm going to glue this to this one. And that's what's going to give it this 3D shape. So for each set of circles, you're going to glue ones together. So it looks like a full circle from the back. It's got this glued together part coming towards you in the front. You'll do that so you'll have 5 sets of these. You do that. If you have 10 circles, you'll glue them together, so you'll have 5 sets. Then you're going to glue each of these sets together. And then you'll have kind of a string of circles. That'll be your pumpkin parts. You'll take the green paper and cut out a little piece for a stem. How big it is depends on how big your orange circles are. So if you have bigger circles than I did, you'll have a bigger stem. And then you can cut a long strip of the paper, long thin strip, and make it into this tendril from the vine. You know how sometimes people can take an open pair of scissors, adult people, take an open pair of scissors and kind of run it down a ribbon to make the ribbon curl? You can curl the paper like that, or you can take your strip and you can wrap it around a circle like this. I have it rubber banded, so once I take it off, it'll be all curled up the same way. And that's going to be how your pumpkin vine's going to work. So how you've glued all those little pieces together, once you've glued them together, you can kind of make it maybe a little bit more pumpkin shaped. You can cut a little bit off the top and a little bit off the bottom. See if then you can make it lie down flatter like that if you cut a little bit off the bottom. But you sort of fit your stem and your leaf tendril sort of in between. I kind of opened one of those glued parts together, put my things inside, and then held it and glued it again. Once you've done that, once you've attached your stem and your tendril, you can glue the last part together and your pumpkins are ready to decorate. We'll give you enough paper that you can probably make a few pumpkins if you would like, so you can use them to decorate your table or whatever else you'd like. In the kit, there will also be a paper plate, which is the base of this leaf wreath, and there'll be a template with some leaf shapes on it that came from the Easy Paper Projects book. And there'll be some construction paper there'll be brown, yellow, green, red, and orange. So you can make your leaves. So you can cut out the template and you can cut as many leaves as you want. I actually had a lot left, but how I cut those ones is I took my construction paper, folded it together, and took my leaf templates and put it on top of one, and then I actually cut them all out together because, again, I'm kind of lazy and I didn't want to have to cut too many out separately. If you have all 5 of the pieces together, it will make it a little hard to cut, so maybe you want to do it twice, but it's up to you. If you don't mind cutting them out individually, you can put the template down and cut out as many as you'd like that way. There's 3 different leaf shapes. So you can decide, you can make them all the same if you want, you can make them all different, which is what I did. So it kind of looks like maybe I just found these leaves lying around on the ground and I made them into my wreath. Once you have your leaves cut out, you can take the paper plate and cut out the center part. I did it by folding this in half, making a cut and then going and folding this out. It doesn't have to be perfect because you're not going to be able to see this part. It's going to be covered up by the leaves. I put my leaves on this side, not the side you would eat on. So it would be, the bottom's going to be gone, but it would be the bottom of the plate. And because I thought it was a little bit easier to glue things on that way. You can glue them on, and I just held all the leaves on in place for a little bit. I put glue on the plate and I put glue on the leaves and I held them in place and just put them all around. And in the book, it suggested that if you fold some of the leaves in half, it'll give you even more of a 3D effect and it'll give a little bit more dimension to the wreath. So I did that too. First, I put them all kind of flat on the plate and then I glued some more leaves on top. You can decide however you want to do it. It's your wreath. You can do it any way you want. There will be some yarn in the kit also. You can just tape the yarn to the back. I put a lot of tape on because I didn't want my yarn to fall off. I don't want my wreath to fall down once it's hanging, but that's all you need to do to make the wreath. So you can have your fall decorations and you will be all set for Thanksgiving and the rest of November until you put up Christmas decorations or whatever you'd like for December. So friends, thank you for watching today. If you can come in for the kit, you can come down to the children's room and pick it up, or pick it up through the curbside service. If you're not able to come into the library, but you would like the instructions for the pumpkin scones or how to make the 2 crafts, you can always email the library at kids@adamslib.org, and I'd be happy to email the instructions out to you. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again next month when we'll bake something new. Thanks, friends. Bye.